Help from the shattered world is sent to the box of shitting. Can Luo Yu, who serves as a teacher in Kivotos, lead his students to save the world from collapse and erosion? The collision between Qiyana and Xiaotao, the battle between Yayi and Maple Fragrance's kitchen god, and the battle between Blonia and Xiaolv's sneak escape. More and more wonderful stories are unfolding in this world. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Kivotos. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the fantasy world constructed by the Blue Archives, there stands a world-renowned campus city. Kivotos. This city is like a treasure trove of knowledge and wisdom, adorned with various higher education institutions like brilliant stars, each with its own characteristics and radiance. For example, Abados College, Jarina, Trinity, Millennium, and so on. In this bustling and vibrant campus city, the power of student autonomy is fully demonstrated. The highest level of student self-management organization, the Federal Student Union, plays a crucial role in coordinating affairs between various colleges and safeguarding the rights of students. In addition, as the guardian of order and stability in this city, a mysterious power organization called Yayi is hidden behind the scenes, possessing authority and power beyond ordinary educational institutions, silently guarding the safety and peace of Kivotos. At the same time, it is also guiding and influencing the development process of the entire campus city. This institution, which combines power, responsibility, and secrecy, adds a profound and captivating color to the grand picture of Kivotos. Ah! Finally it's over, Yoxiang. Thank you so much. Without you, I don't know when to do these tasks. On the top floor of Yayi, Luo Yu stretched lazily and looked gratefully at the pretty girl with blue ponytails beside her. Indeed, without me, the teacher would be completely useless. The pretty girl's name is Yuka Hayes, and she was one of the members of the Millennium Research Council. She was also one of the first students that Luo Yu met in this world. Yoxiang smiled faintly, her agile blue pupils sparkling with wisdom and vitality. The pen in her hand left a final mark on the document, announcing the end of today's work. Since today's work has been completed, then, teacher, your bill for this month should be ready. Show it to me. Upon hearing this, Luo Yu's expression instantly felt awkward. He took out a bill from the drawer of his desk and handed it to Yoxiang with a hint of apology. As a member of Yayi and also a teacher in the city of Kivotos Academy, he not only has to handle heavy work tasks, but also manages his daily expenses, which makes him feel quite frustrated when he is usually carefree. Alas, Yoxiang, you are always so strict that you even have to go through my bills one by one. Luo Yu smiled bitterly, knowing that Yoxiang was doing this to help him plan his life reasonably. After all, while maintaining the operation of this mysterious institution, their own economic situation cannot be ignored. Humph, teacher, are you okay to say that even though you don't control your expenses, as an adult, you should set a good example for us students? Yoxiang took the bill and quickly scanned it, maintaining a calm and serious expression on her face. Teacher, your expenses this month are still a bit over budget. Also, what about buying game consoles for those kids in the game development department? Luo Yu scratched her head and said awkwardly, there's no way. Alice's model is already very old. Last time she came to work as a duty officer, she took her to buy a new one. Upon hearing this, Yoxiang couldn't help but sigh. She knows how doting the man in front of her is on these students. Anyway, this has been done too much. Yoxiang's eyes flickered with a hint of helplessness, but she still chose to understand the feelings of Luo Yu. Teacher, we all appreciate your kindness and generosity, but we also need to pay attention to our financial situation. After all, although Yayi's work is important, it cannot neglect her personal life. She said as she picked up a pen and began planning next month's budget for Luo Yu. I will try my best to control it, Yoxiang, Luo Yu assured, feeling warm in his heart with meticulous care for Yoxiang. However, watching the students' happy smiles, I feel that everything is worth it. Teacher, I understand your thoughts, but please remember that each of us has our own responsibilities and roles, and Xiaolv needs you to remain rational and resilient in your position. Moreover, student smiles not only come from material satisfaction, but also from the knowledge and care they receive from you. At this point, Youxiang finally realized what she had said, her face blushing with embarrassment, and even her anger became stuttering. Gently touching Youxiang's hair, Luo Yu got up and walked to Shilai's window. Looking at the bustling scene outside, she couldn't help but recall all the things she had experienced in this world. The battle against Convenience House 68 in Barbados and the battle to save the Starry Wilderness, the efforts made in the Millennium to protect the Game Development Department in Alice, as well as the Treaty of Eden between Trinity and Grenache. And that self from another world. Watching you all smile from the bottom of your heart, as a teacher, I am already satisfied. After all, this is the responsibility of being an adult. Speaking of which, it's been a long time since we went to the Millennium. I don't know how Xiaotao and Xiaolv are doing. Upon hearing what Luo Yu said, Youxiang also remembered several troublemakers in the game development department. What else can they do? I'm already grateful if they don't come up with some trouble. Really, thinking about that makes me a little angry. Youxiang puffed up her mouth and looked at Luo Yu with a hint of dissatisfaction. Carrying Little Peach and Little Green to attack the seminar council, teacher, what you did was a bit too much. Even if it's to protect the club, you can't use this method. Upon hearing this, Luo Yu also smiled awkwardly. After all, back then, my mind was also hot, and coupled with the love of Xiaotao and her friends for the club, I couldn't sit idly by. Yeah, that incident really made me sweat a lot. Luo Yu recalled that tense and thrilling night with mixed feelings in his heart. However, it was those seemingly impulsive actions that deepened our understanding of each other and made the game development, engineering, and truth departments more united in facing crises together. Youxiang, do you know? The charm of Kivotos lies not only in its academic prosperity and orderly order, but also in everyone here fighting to protect their beliefs and ideals. Whether it's students, teachers, or members of the Federal Student Union, we are all guarding the peace and tranquility of this world in our own way. He turned his head and looked down at Youxiang, who was pondering with admiration and gratitude in his eyes. You are the same, Youxiang. Your rigor and meticulousness are like a strong defense line, protecting those children's daily lives from deviating from the right track. I think this is also an important reason why they rely on you. Chapter 2. Seeking Help from Another World. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Teacher. Despite hearing countless praises from Luo Yu, each time it made Youxiang feel embarrassed. Dang. Dang. At this moment, the shitting box placed on the desk made a sound that had never been heard before, followed closely by the figure of the blue demon appearing on the screen. Alona, what happened? The shitting box seems to have undergone a slight change. No, not just a little bit. It can be said that the shitting box has completely changed its appearance. It used to be like a regular tablet, but now it is covered in purple patterns, looking very eerie. Teacher Luo Yu, I don't know what's going on either. After receiving a mysterious request for help letter, the shitting box turned into this. It is currently impossible to determine where this letter was sent from. Kivotos does not have such a signal. Prana also appeared on the screen, continuing expressionlessly. Meanwhile, we are unable to open this letter independently. It seems that only you, teacher, have the right to view this letter. Teacher, what should we do? Youxiang looked at Luo Yu and saw a strange light flickering in his eyes, as if there was endless curiosity and determination in those deep eyes. His lips slightly curved upwards, revealing a serious and challenging smile, which was the familiar teacher of Luo Yu who never retreated in the face of unknown challenges. It seems that we have something new to do. The falling rain gently tapped on the purple patterned surface of the shitting box, as if awakening its dormant secret. Alona, Prana, project the contents of the letter. Let's first take a look at what this mysterious seeker has said. Yes, Teacher Luo Yu. Understood, just leave it to Alona. With the authorization from Rain, Alona and Prana opened the letter together, but the projected image only made people feel heartbroken. A beautiful girl with purple long hair and ordinary school uniform was now covered in lightning all over her body. Her long knife pointed at the white-haired girl wearing the same clothes on the other side. At the same time, a segment of audio also reached everyone's ears. Please, no matter who. Please help me, and Yayi. The scene came to a sudden stop here, and then the box of the pavilion emitted a light purple light. In a blink of an eye, a crack towering high converged in front of everyone. This seems to be a mysterious event far beyond our imagination, Luo Yu said slowly after careful consideration. But since the box of Ting has undergone such changes, it shows that we have countless connections with this matter and cannot stay out of it. Xiang, you go back to the Millennium first, and I'll go see that world. After speaking, Luo Yu picked up the box of shitting and was about to enter the crack, but in the next second, Xiang tightly grabbed his arm. No way. I can't let the teacher go to a place that looks very dangerous alone. But there's nothing, but if it's not possible, it's just not possible. I don't want to taste the pain of losing my teacher again. Watching Xiang's body tremble slightly, Luo Yu also sighed. The shadow brought by the Battle of the Ark had not yet been erased from the delicate girl's heart. At this moment, the phone of Luo Yu rang, and upon opening it, it turned out to be a message from Momotok's Riju. Riju. Don't worry, teacher. I have almost understood the situation and I have already arranged for all members of CC to arrive in Xiaolai. With them around, Xiang should also feel much more at ease. Senior Riju. How did she know what happened here in Xiaolai? Xiang also saw the news sent by Riju and felt at ease, curious about her source of information. Maybe it's Xiaoyu, after all, Riju is the minister of the Ministry of Truth. After Xiaoyu heard our conversation from the monitoring device, she should have reported it to Riju. Luo Yu answered Xiang's question with a bitter smile. In this office, I don't know how many micro-monitoring devices were placed by Xiaoyu. According to her, her voice is more energetic than any functional beverage. Before Xiang could say anything, the sound of helicopters came from outside, followed by the sound of broken windows and the arrival of all the maids. Yo. Teacher, long time no see. Master. It's been a long time since we last met. Have you ever thought of tomorrow? I really miss my master. Nilu Sr., Qian Sr., Tomorrow Nana Sr., Hua Lin Sr., and Shi Sr., you all came so soon. When we heard that the teacher was in danger, our little minister rushed over immediately. Upon hearing Tomorrow's words, Nilu's face instantly turned red and she said, No, it's nothing to do with him. I heard there's a new challenge, that's why I came. Watching the lively crowd, a faint smile appeared on Luo Yu's face. This action is up to everyone. We must protect our teachers, please. Xiang stared closely at the maid department members in front of her, feeling a surge of warmth and peace of mind. She knew that with these reliable companions by her side, the safety of falling rain was an additional guarantee. The rapid response and arrangement of Senior Riju also gave her more confidence in this adventure in the unknown world. Thank you all, thank you very much. Xiang bowed deeply to the maids. I cannot let the teacher go into danger alone. I also want to go together. Nilu took a step forward and patted Xiang's shoulder. Don't worry, Xiang. We will protect the teacher. However, since you insist, we also need to ensure your safety. Let's take action together. Luo Yu looked at the scene in front of him, feeling deeply moved. He nodded and said, Okay, since that's the case, let's go to that world together, find out the truth, and help the girl who is seeking help. Alona, can we return to Kivotos after we reach that world over there? This point must be confirmed in advance, and if Alona cannot teleport a few people back to Kivotos, he will definitely not let the maid department and Youxiang venture with him. Previously, it was not possible, but after the teacher authorized me, I felt like I had the ability to open 2 world channels, so it shouldn't be a problem. Prana also has this feeling, I will help Arona well. Then it's up to you. Everyone, let's go. After obtaining the accurate answer, Luo Yu picked up the box of shitting and led Nilu and others into this unknown crack. Chapter 3. Kiana Kaslana. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Yayi, wake up quickly. In Qianyu Academy, Kiana kept dodging attacks from Yayi and constantly pulling in the distance between the two. She had already run out of firearms and bullets in her hand, leaving only the baseball bat she usually carried. Give me back my sprout clothes. Kiana jumped up from the ground, rounded her baseball bat in her hand, and fiercely smashed it towards Thunderbolt Yayi, who was currently under the control of the lawyer's personality. However, the figure of Thunderbolt Yayi disappeared into place like a phantom, and Kiana's attack fell through, only hitting a ball of air. Under the control of the personality of the lawmaker, the speed and strength of Yayi have been elevated to an unprecedented level, with each attack carrying a thunderous force that is unpredictable. Yayi, can you hear me speaking? Kiana dodged and tried her best to call out to Yayi deep inside, trying to awaken her personality consciousness. Every evasive attack pierced through her heart, and she knew it was not just a physical injury, but also a tearing apart of the deep friendship between the two. Human beings, that's it. Suddenly, Yayi's attack rhythm became even more intense, and countless lightning bolts swept towards Kiana like dragons out of the sea. At the critical moment, Kiana used the power of her baseball bat to bounce and roll in the air, barely avoiding this devastating blow. Yayi, please wake up quickly. Kiana shouted again, her voice filled with unparalleled determination and resilience. She tightly grasped the baseball bat in her hand, her gaze fixed on Yayi, who was controlled by the character of the lawmaker, and her beliefs turned into endless motivation. At this moment, Kiana noticed a hint of hesitation in Yayi's eyes, and that moment of hesitation gave Kiana a chance. This is Yayi's original personality struggling, her inner kindness and rationality trying to break free from constraints. Kiana no longer defends passively, but chooses to take the initiative to attack. She jumped up and focused all her strength on the baseball bat, aiming at Yayi's chest. There was the heart-shaped pendant she had personally gifted Yayi, which was a symbol of their friendship and the key to awakening Yayi. The idea is beautiful, but the reality is cruel. The hesitation in Yayi's eyes dissipated in an instant, just like before, disappearing into place as Kiana was about to hit her. Before Kiana could react, a sword light wrapped in lightning slowly widened in her eyes, and a sense of despair gradually filled her heart. At this moment, just as the knife light was about to hit Kiana, a light blue shield wrapped around her. The knife light fiercely charged onto the shield but failed to cause any damage to the girl inside. Oh, thank you for catching up. Just as Kiana was confused, a voice came from a distance. When she turned her head, she saw a man leading 6 girls slowly towards this place. Yayi's face was also slightly frozen, and she smelled a deep sense of powerlessness from the small maid walking at the front and a blonde maid at the back. From birth to now, this is the first time she has felt this emotion. Excuse me, who are you? Kiana looked at the man in charge and pondered whether she had ever seen this slightly handsome man and had an encounter with him. But after a while, I gave up and couldn't even remember. I am just an ordinary teacher, and the students around me are all the ones I am proud of. Yu Xiang, Hualin, and Qian, this girl, please take care of me. Luo Yu slightly answered Kiana's question and turned to release the battle plan to Youxiang and others. Nilu, tomorrow night, remember to protect yourself. The battle begins. Understand. After receiving the instruction to reign, Youxiang and a few others picked up Qiyana and quickly evacuated the battlefield to a safe area. Nilou and others slowly walked up to Yayi and aimed their weapons at Yayi, who looked alert. Now, the second round has begun. As Nilou's words fell, Hori and Mingri immediately fired at Yayi, while Nilou quickly approached Yayi. Their cooperation caught Yayi off guard. Faced with the fierce attack from Nilou and others, Yayi's character as a lawmaker did not shrink, but instead sparked a stronger desire to counterattack. She waved a thunderous knife light and engaged in a battle with Nilou and the others, interweaving the lightning and stones on the battlefield into a brilliant and cruel scene in the night sky. Kiana watched the battle anxiously from the side, with mixed feelings in her heart. She understood that at this moment, Yayi was not the real Yayi. The indifference revealed in her body and eyes, which were controlled by the personality of the lawmaker, made Kiana's heart ache. However, she was also aware that Luo Yu and his students were here to help her, and this assistance gave her a glimmer of hope in despair. Although the younger generation may seem young, their combat skills are very exquisite. They cleverly utilized the advantage of the field, flexibly changed formations, and repeatedly resolved the fierce attacks of Yayi. And Nilou faced the challenge directly, wielding a light machine gun in both hands and constantly waving it. Every bullet burst from it made Yayi feel a strong sense of crisis in her heart. What's wrong? Are you at this level? Nilou looked at Yayi, who was forced to dodge, and her heart lost a bit of passion. In her opinion, although Yayi's strength is decent, it's just like that. It's not as satisfying as fighting Alice. Nilou, who was not probing, immediately unleashed all her firepower and took advantage of Yayi's defense to quickly charge in front of her. She whipped her leg hard and hit Yayi's face. The immense force directly sent Yayi flying out, breaking through several walls before stopping. Seeing this scene, Kiana's heart tightened and she quickly ran to Luo Yu, grabbing his arm and pleading. Although my request is very unreasonable, please let your students take it lightly. Yayi is not a bad person, she is just controlled by something else. What are you saying? Upon hearing Kiana's words, Luo Yu finally understood that in the audio, the Yayi in Kiana's mouth was actually the girl with purple hair. Nilou, change the battle plan. That girl is under control, just knock her unconscious and don't have to resort to violence. Tomorrow, when she's young, form an encirclement net to control her and prevent her from escaping from here. Understood. Received, Master. Tomorrow you also received it. Chapter 4. Thunderbolt Sprout Clothes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Damn humanity, how dare you fool me like this? It's unforgivable, unforgivable. Yayi quickly flew out of the ground, raised her long sword in her hand, and the power of lightning brewed on it. Then, with a fierce wave, the huge blade rushed towards Nilou. The first time she saw this type of attack, even Nella had to take it seriously, constantly consuming the power of the blade with bullets, and then flicking the chain behind her to break the blade apart. The moment the blade shattered, it turned into countless small lightning particles, shimmering with a blue light in the sky, as brilliant as a falling star. Nilou's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise, but more importantly, it was the determination and calmness of the battle. It seems that the power of Yayi is not as simple as it appears on the surface. The thunderous force originates from deep within its body, containing endless energy. Your power is truly amazing, Yayi, Nilou said in a deep voice, her voice echoing in the thunderous space, but it cannot be a reason for you to harm others casually. Before she could finish speaking, Nilou's chain in her hand began to dance again. This time, it was no longer a defense, but a proactive attack. Chains glide through beautiful trajectories in the air, with twists in space and stagnation in time, heading straight towards Yayi. Yayi snorted coldly, facing the incoming chain attack, but her figure did not shrink back, but instead showed even more sharpness. She waved her long sword, triggering the lightning power around her to converge into an invisible shield, colliding with Nilou's chains and making a deafening roar. At this distance, there are not many who can beat me. No, not a single one. Nilou's mouth curled up with a crazy smile, and with the combination of chains and light machine guns, Yayi could only passively defend. When she was preparing to retreat, tomorrow an hour had already blocked her retreat. The battle between us is not just a power struggle, little girl. Nelu's eyes were firm, and the speed of the chains dancing in the air became faster and faster, like venomous snakes waiting for an opportunity to move. The light machine gun in his hand also kept pulling the trigger, and the combination of the chain and bullets made Yayi unable to defend. However, Yayi did not panic as a result, but instead had a stronger fighting spirit flashing in her eyes. The lightning power inside her was like a rushing river, constantly surging out, colliding and confronting Nilu's attacks. The long sword in her hand seemed to possess life, and every strike was like a thunderous thunderbolt, shaking the heavens and earth. Yayi pointed her knife at Nilu, and the lightning power surrounding her became even more violent, as if she was about to tear apart the entire world. But Yayi understood in her heart that her defeat had been decided. If it's a battle of life and death, the small maid in front of her can instantly end her life. Her strength, speed, skills, and everything she possesses cannot match hers. Nilu seemed to have the upper hand, but she didn't slack off because of it. Each attack is like a result of precise calculation, pointing directly at the weak points of Yayi's defense. However, Yayi did not blindly counterattack like a beast forced into a desperate situation. Instead, she calmly observed Nelu's attack rhythm and weaknesses under the influence of thunder. At this extremely tense moment, Yayi caught the momentary pause in Nilu's attack gap, which was a small flaw that Nilu couldn't avoid after continuous high-intensity attacks. She no longer chose passive defense, but suddenly burst out with the lightning power that had accumulated in her body for a long time, like a phoenix's nirvana, rushing towards Nilu with lightning speed. The long sword carried a devastating lightning strike and headed straight towards Nelu, as if the force was about to tear apart everything that was blocking it. Although Nilu was surprised by Yayi's counterattack speed, she immediately adjusted her posture with her extraordinary reaction power, and the chain danced even faster, trying to resist the blow. However, just as the chain was about to touch the lightning-long sword, the knife in Yayi's hand suddenly disappeared, replaced by a galloping thunder that bypassed the chain's blockade and directly stabbed Nilu's heart. "You really surprised me, Yayi." Nelu smiled slightly and raised the light machine gun to her chest. The chains hovered around like living creatures, shattering the incoming thunder. "But I'm sorry, I'm a bit tired of playing." As soon as she finished speaking, Nilu came to Yayi at a faster speed than before. The chain directly locked Yayi's neck, and she struck her neck with a light machine gun in her hand. The rapid combat style left Yayi with no time to react and she fainted. Just as she was about to fall to the ground, she was steadily caught by Nilu. "Well done, Nelu. She is truly the ace of the maid department and a symbol of millennial honor and victory." After seeing the end of the battle, Luo Yu and Qiyana also arrived in this area. Watching Nilu lay her sprout clothes on the ground, Luo Yu stepped forward and touched her head. "Humph, just at this level, it's just enough for me to heat up." Although the words spoken in his mouth were tough, his body was obedient and he enjoyed the rain's touching service with a comfortable expression on his face. "Hey! Tomorrow Nai Mingming is also working hard. I'm the same, I also want to enjoy the master's touch service." Feeling the naked gaze of the two, Luo Yu pretended not to see and moved his hand away, turning his head to look at Qiyana, who was checking the condition of Yayi. "Since the battle is over, we should also formally introduce ourselves. My name is Luo Yu and I will temporarily serve as Xia Lai's teacher. This is Yuka Hayes, a member of the Millennium Research Council, and the other few are the Minister of the Maids Department, Meganero, as well as the members of the department, Ashikaga Yoshimoto, Kazuru Kagami, Akina Ichinos, and Tortoise Masashi." Qiyana stared at everyone in shock. She could understand every word that Luo Yu said, but why couldn't she understand it even when they were connected together? "Hello, my name is Qiyana, Qiyana Kaslana. This is my friend, Thunderbolt Yayi." Qiyana, although confused by the complex identity before her, politely introduced herself. Qian smiled slightly and lightly patted Kiana's shoulder, saying in a soft voice, "Don't worry, your friend is not in big trouble, just temporarily unconscious." Although the battle was intense, our minister controlled the intensity and did not cause irreversible damage to her. The gentle voice also dispelled Kiana's worries. While letting go of her breath, all the exhaustion in her body surged up at this moment. With her last conscious embarrassment, she smiled at Luo Yu and them, and then, like Thunderbolt Yayi, fainted. Chapter 5. Daily Life After Battles. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Teacher, what should I do? Youxiang looked at Qiyana and Thunderbolt Yayi, who had fainted, and turned her head to ask Luo Yu beside her. Falling rain is also quite a headache. How could anyone lie down halfway without saying anything? They still don't know everything about this world, including how this city became so dilapidated. What are the strange creatures and pale-skinned girls that appear in the city? These questions are what Luo Yu urgently wants to know now. There's no way, let's send Miss Kiana and Miss Thunderbolt Yayi to the school behind us first. We'll take care of them temporarily until they wake up. Qian, Youxiang, Miss Kiana and Miss Thunderbolt Yayi are all up to you. Hualin, Mingrina, Nilu. Follow me when you're young to clear potential dangers nearby and collect some supplies. Upon receiving instructions from the rain, Youxiang and Qian carried Qiyana and Yayi on their backs and walked towards the school behind them. Although that school appeared dilapidated in this catastrophe, at least it could provide temporary shelter. Youxiang and his group stepped into this once knowledge and vitality-filled place, but now they can only hear the howling sound of the wind passing through the broken windows. They placed Qiyana and Thunderbolt Yayi in a relatively intact classroom and covered them with blankets found nearby. Youxiang and Qian stood by the bed, nervously and anxiously looking at the unconscious two. Qiyana's face was pale, with a trace of blood hanging from the corner of her mouth that had not yet dried up. Thunderbolt Yayi closed her eyes tightly, and the battle marks on her body silently recounted the intense conflict just now. On the other hand, Luo Yu led Hualin, Mingrina, and Nilu to explore the surrounding area, clean up potential threats, and search for survival essentials. They found that the city seemed to be torn apart by an unknown force, and those strange creatures and pale-skinned girls seemed to be the products of this disaster. As gunshots kept flashing, the falling rain commanded Nilu and her companions to constantly sweep through all the dangers near the school, while also finding some edible items from the nearby supermarket. Everyone should be careful, these creatures are very aggressive and seem to be under some kind of control, Luo Yu whispered, his gun shining coldly under the dim light. They not only need to ensure their own safety, but also collect as many clues as possible about the world. Tomorrow, Nai carefully flipped through the items left by those pale-skinned girls, trying to find some key information from them. When she was young, she used her keen observation and analytical abilities to record the behavior patterns and characteristics of enemies in each encounter, which may become the key to their understanding of the world. Hua Lin is responsible for searching for daily necessities and medical supplies. She found many emergency medicines in a damaged pharmacy, which are crucial for the unconscious Kiana and Thunderbolt Yayi. On the other hand, Youxiang and Qian in the classroom are waiting for Qiyana and Thunderbolt Yayi. They are constantly monitoring their situation, hoping that they can wake up as soon as possible and answer their doubts. At the same time, the two also began to make simple arrangements for the classroom, attempting to create a relatively comfortable environment for them to recover their energy. As night fell, the team led by Luo Yu returned to school. While bringing back food and medicine, they also brought back a pile of suspicious information and intelligence. That's the thing. This city seems to have completely fallen, at least when we were searching, whether it's in shopping malls or other places with relatively high pedestrian traffic, we didn't find any traces of others' survival. Speaking of which, Luo Yu let out a deep sigh, his tone filled with regret for the city. Now we can only understand what has happened in this city when Qiyana and the others wake up. Youxiang, take tomorrow Nai and the others back first, with Nilu and Qian following me. We still need you for the millennium. When you go back, remember to describe my current situation to Lin Jiang. Remember to let Lin Jiang disclose my current situation, otherwise some students may have to turn over Kivotos' sky. Youxiang opened her mouth and wanted to say something, but after watching Luo Yu's firm gaze, she swallowed what she wanted to say. If it weren't for worrying about ourselves, the teacher might have let us all go back and survive alone in this dangerous world. Thinking of this, Youxiang nodded and agreed to Luo Yu's arrangement. Seeing Youxiang agree, Luo Yu breathed a sigh of relief and took out the shitting box from her clothes. The two little ones also appeared on the screen. Please, Prana, Arona. Understood. Leave it all to Alona. The two little ones each raised a small hand. With a flash of light, the same crack appeared in front of them. Finally, taking a look at the falling rain, Yuka and Mingrina led Hualin and Hosher back to Kivotos through the cracks, preparing to report in detail the current situation of the falling rain and their experiences in that world to Rinzhou and other members of the Federal Student Union. On the other hand, Luo Yu, accompanied by Qian and Nilu, stayed by Kiana and Thunderbolt Yayi, waiting for them to wake up. The night is deep, and the lighting in the classroom appears particularly dim and warm. Kiana and Thunderbolt Yayi's breathing gradually stabilized, as if indicating they were about to wake up from their coma. Shortly thereafter, Thunderbolt Yayi opened her eyes first. What's here? Thunderbolt Yayi looked around, looking at Nilu and Qian in front of her. Memories began to slowly go back, slowly recalling what happened during her time being trapped by the personality of a lawmaker. Miss Thunderbolt Yayi, how is your current physical condition? Are there any uncomfortable areas? Qian saw Yayi wake up and asked her in a gentle tone. By the way, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Qian, and the person next to me is the head of our maid department, Nilu. At the same time, in Kivotos, Yuka arrived at the entrance of the Federal Student Union. Just as she was about to enter, Kue happened to come out from inside. When she saw Youxiang, she also felt a burst of curiosity. Miss Hayes Yuka, is there anything I'm doing here during this time period? Time is running out. Is Qi Shenlin here? I must explain some things about the teacher to her. Upon hearing the words, teacher, spoken from Youxiang's mouth, Kue also understood that Luo Yu might have been caught up in strange things again. The acting president is here now, please follow me. Chapter 6. The Turbulent Kivotos. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Miss Hayes Yuka, is what you said true? The teacher is currently in another world. In the office of the Federal Council, Qi Shenlin looked at Youxiang with a serious expression. Assuming that what Youxiang said was true, if the teacher had nothing to do, everything would be okay, but if something happened, it would only bring a devastating blow to Kivotos. That's right, Miss Qi Shenlin. Also, the teacher said to inform all the colleges of his safety as soon as possible, otherwise. Youxiang stopped talking at this point, and Lin also knew what Youxiang meant. Just kidding, if the news of the teacher's disappearance were to be known by the strong and outrageous disciplinary committee leader of G.A. Hina and the pink-haired gorilla of Trinity, the entire Federal Student Union would have to be dismantled by both of them. Not to mention Ruo Zhao and Qing Chengjing among the 7 prisoners, their madness may be even more terrifying than Hina and Anhua. In terms of combat ability alone, the 7 prisoners are not opponents of the top combat forces of various colleges, but when it comes to troublemaking ability, everyone has to stand on the sidelines. The teacher's decision is correct. Instead of letting them come knocking on the door, it's better for us to go find them and confess first. 7 Divine Rin couldn't help but rub his swollen head as he spoke, looking at the sunset about to set by the window. Rin's heart was filled with sorrow, worrying about the Federal Council, himself, and the distant rain in another world. Teacher, you have left me with a big problem. I hope you can come back safely. Kivotos cannot do without you, and I am the same. Qi Shenlin closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and slowly exhaled, as if calming down the surging emotions in his heart. As the student president, the burden on her shoulders is now more important than ever before. I understand, Yoxiang. I will organize the meeting as soon as possible, inform each college of this matter, and arrange the follow-up matters. 7 Shenlin's eyes flickered with determination. No matter how many difficulties we face ahead, we must persevere, for the sake of Kivotos and the teacher. After a period of time, the 4 major colleges of Abydos, Qiyana, Millennium, and Trinity all received notices of major meetings issued by the Federal Council under the name of Charlotte. At the Qiyana Academy, Hina defeated the 4 hungry men in the food department with a destructive attitude. When Hina saw Hina at first glance, she realized that her condition was a bit off. Unfortunately, Hina didn't even give them a chance to surrender. She went straight on stage and knocked out the 4 hungry men in the food department, including Hina, Junko, Shiba, and Mingri. Behind her, Yayi, Izuki, and other members of the discipline committee's mixed fish sauce were also the first to see such a domineering chairman, and couldn't help but worry about her mental state. After all, as usual, even if she tried to deal with these troublemaking students, she would still show some strength in consideration of the teacher's concern for them. Yayi, did the Federal Council explain anything? After tidying up the 4 of them, Hina turned her head and said coldly to Yayi behind her. Yayi swallowed her saliva, and she could feel that today's chairman of the Sinai Committee was more serious and terrifying than ever before. She quickly adjusted her emotions and replied as calmly as possible, "Yes, Chairman. The Federal Council has just issued an urgent notice stating that the teacher is currently in another world and requesting the main members of the student unions of each college to attend a major meeting." Nina's gaze instantly sharpened, as if it condensed endless ice. Another world. How could this be? Her voice, although cold, revealed an indescribable worry and anxiety. When did he go? Why did he go? How could he possibly go to another world? Upon seeing Nina's reaction, Yayi became more convinced of the seriousness of the matter. She cautiously continued to explain, "The specific situation is still in the confidential stage, but as far as I know, the Millennium Research Council's Yoxiang has confirmed the authenticity of this news. Moreover, the woman 7 Shenlin also emphasized that we must prepare as soon as possible, because the safety of the teacher may directly affect the stability of the entire Kivotos." After hearing this, Rina's tightly clenched fist trembled slightly. After a moment, she suppressed her inner unease and ordered, "Notify all members of the discipline committee to be on standby. Yayi, Izo, and Qianxia should immediately prepare to attend the meeting. In addition, send someone to contact Holy Trinity, Millennium, and Abydos. We need to share information." While preparing, she silently prayed in her heart for the safe return of the rain. At Barbados College, as the president of the council, little bird Yuxingye received a notice, and a hint of sharpness flashed in her seemingly lazy eyes. Her tightly closed eyelids couldn't conceal her deep worries. She immediately convened the remaining members of the council to discuss countermeasures together. At Trinity College, when Tokushima received the message, she was standing in the courtyard with cherry blossoms falling, her white hair gently dancing in the wind, and her usual gentleness was now replaced by seriousness. She was well aware of the significance of this matter and quickly arranged for the elite forces within the college to gather, instructing the intelligence department to obtain more information about the current situation of the rain as soon as possible. With the urgent mobilization of various federal colleges in Kivotos, a major conference concerning fate is about to be held. Representatives from each college gathered at the Federal Council office with their own expectations and deep longing for their teachers. As the organizer, Qi Shenlin stood in the center of the conference room, looking around at important figures from various colleges, and knew the importance of this meeting better than anyone else. "Ladies and gentlemen," Rin's voice was clear and powerful, "we are gathered here today because our teacher, Xiaolai, is now in another world. His safety directly affects the stability of the entire Kivotos. We must unite and find a way to bring back our teachers, no matter what challenges lie ahead. As for the teacher, Miss Yuka Hayes will explain in detail what happened to the teacher. Xiang stood up and explained in detail to the representatives of the college present this morning about the situation in Xiaoi's office and the journey to the world of collapse. After listening to Xiang's words, everyone present fell into silence. The unknown world was too magical for them, and without a box, they couldn't go to help Luo Yu. At this moment, the voice of Xiao Yu, a member of the Ministry of Truth, came from the equipment carried by Riju. Report to Minister, there is a strange sound coming from Xiao Lai's office. It seems that the teacher has returned. Chapter 7. The Past of Thunderbolt and Sprout Clothes. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Your name is Thunderbolt Yayi, right? Looking at your eyes, you should remember what happened before. Keenly aware of the evasive look in Yayi's eyes, Nilu walked up to Yayi and aimed a light machine gun at her head. Listen to the little girl with white hair next to you, you're being controlled, right? So now, with such a delicate appearance, is it a disguise or your true appearance? Yayi's gaze trembled slightly as she met Nilu's sharp gaze and the light machine gun aimed at her. She pursed her lips tightly, with pain and struggle flashing in her eyes. You guessed right, my current appearance is my disguise. The true Thunderbolt Yayi is an unforgivable sinner. Plain words came out of Yayi's mouth, and after speaking these words, the girl's eyes also showed a hint of detachment. But when Nelu heard her say that, she just snorted and then put away her weapon. First time meeting, Miss Thunderbolt Yayi. My name is Luo Yu and I serve as their teacher in Kivotos. Upon hearing the commotion in the classroom, Luo Yu also opened the door. Similarly, he also heard Yayi's previous remarks. Seeing Luo Yu open the door and walk in, Nilu and Qian also got up and left Yayi's side, freeing up their space for Luo Yu. It seems that you have memories from before. Although it may not be good for you who just woke up, I hope you can answer some of our questions. Luo Yu sat in front of Yayi and handed her the water in her hand. Just woke up from a coma, it's better to take a sip of water. Yayi looked at the mineral water in Luo Yu's hand, hesitated for a moment, then reached out and took it from him. With a thank you, Yayi started drinking it in small sips. You just said that you are now disguised. Luo Yu calmly began the conversation, without any blame or doubt in his words, but rather revealing a reassuring calmness. So, what kind of person is the real Thunderbolt Yayi? Why do you disguise yourself? Yayi tightened her grip on the mineral water bottle, and a hint of complexity flashed in her eyes. Then, with a hint of desolation, she began to tell her story. My father's name is Thunderbolt Longma and he is the president of the famous foreign-funded enterprise Me Society. Under his protection, I lived a very happy life. But one day, everything changed. Me suddenly exposed a scandal involving economic fraud, and my father was also dismissed from his position as president by the board of directors on suspicion of forging financial certificates. He also suffered from imprisonment. But how could that be? Although my father is very busy with work, he doesn't have much time to spend with me. But he is always the father who makes me proud and gentle. How could he do that? At this point, Yayi tightly hugged her legs, tears streaming down her eyes uncontrollably. No matter how hard I try to defend myself, no one will believe me. Those adults who used to smile at me and those friends who were particularly close to me have been deliberately keeping a distance from me since that day. I am also aware of my identity and have no qualifications to demand that they believe their father has been wronged. I can only silently search for evidence of my father's innocence on my own. At this point, Yayi was already sobbing uncontrollably. Looking at the poor girl, Luo Yu sighed and took out a handkerchief from her arms, gently wiping Yayi's tears. Feeling the tenderness of the falling rain, Yayi cried even more fiercely. Except for Qiyana, she hasn't felt the warmth from anyone else for a long time. What was once within reach is now so distant. Nelu, who was standing beside her, looked at the falling rain wiping tears from Yayi and only let out a dissatisfied cut. Qian looked at her gentle teacher with a slightly bitter smile. After a while, Thunderbolt Yayi slowly stopped sobbing and her mood gradually calmed down. Looking at the handkerchief that had been moistened by her tears, her face slowly turned red. Somehow, this man's actions and language would make Yayi involuntarily let go of her guard and expose her weakest side. "I'm very sorry, Rain. Teacher. I made you laugh." "It's okay, Yayi." Luo Yu gently patted her shoulder, her gentle gaze filled with understanding and tolerance. "Everyone has their own story and challenges they must face. I believe there must be insider information about your father's situation, and your perseverance and courage are exactly what your father needs." Yayi lowered her head with embarrassment, her voice weak but firm. "Afterwards, I realized that all they cared about was the name Thunderbolt Yayi. So I gradually distanced myself from the crowd and started to walk alone until the appearance of Kiana." Speaking of which, Yayi looked at Kiana who was beside her, and her temperament became much more relaxed. "Kiana is very strange. She doesn't care about my background, nor does she care about my initial cold attitude. It is precisely because of her that I, who was facing a breakdown at the time, had a chance to catch my breath. But the good times didn't last long. One day, a voice suddenly came from deep within my body, constantly tempting me to destroy everything around me. Although I tried my best to resist at first, I didn't succeed in suppressing her in the end. She was like my dark side, and as soon as she appeared, she brought about the catastrophic disaster of this city. When I realized it, I was already standing on the ruins of the school, with the power of lightning causing irreparable damage. Kiana. She was right across from me, looking at me with anger and disbelief in her eyes. Yayi's body trembled slightly, she closed her eyes, and those painful memories surged in like a tide, making it impossible for her to breathe. You also know the rest. Just as I watched helplessly as I kept attacking Kiana, you appeared. Upon hearing this, Luo Yu understood why Yayi claimed to be an unforgivable person. This innocent girl may have taken all the sins onto her. But Luo Yu subconsciously felt that this matter might not be as simple as what Yayi said. What should I say? Everything went too smoothly. Whether it's Yayi's father's imprisonment, Yayi being excluded by everyone, or the sudden sound that appears, it's like having a big hand pushing things forward. This poor girl may just be a tool used by others. Chapter 8. Numerous beautiful girls. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Alright, Miss Thunderbolt Yayi. It's getting late too, and your body is still very weak. Let's take a rest for a while. Luo Yu stood up and touched Yayi's little head. The task of guarding the night has been entrusted to us. When Miss Kiana wakes up tomorrow, we will continue to study the next steps. Feeling the temperature emanating from her head, Yayi did not feel any resentment, but rather enjoyed the sensation. Just kidding, do you understand the value of the Kivotos demon? Teacher Luo Yu, you can call me Yayi in the future. The title, Miss Thunderbolt Yayi, sounds strange. Okay, Yayi. Luo Yu responded with a smile, her eyes filled with love and respect for this young girl. Your physical condition now requires sufficient rest. Let's lie down and have a good sleep first. Glancing at Nilu and Xian, Luo Yu left the classroom and waited quietly outside the door. In no time, Xian and Nilu walked out of the classroom. Teacher, are there any new instructions? I need to go back to Kivotos, Nelu, Cici. I'll leave it to you for now. Don't worry, I'll come back as soon as possible. Nilu casually waved her hand, while Qian nodded towards Luo Yu and said, Teacher, please rest assured that this is enough for me and the minister. After receiving their responses, Luo Yu also nodded. Immediately, Arona and Prana opened the channel back to Kivotos. If you encounter any difficulties, remember not to be reckless. No matter what happens, wait for me to come back and study. Before leaving, the falling rain still felt a bit uneasy. Turning his head, he continued to admonish Nilu and Qian. Especially you, Nelu. There are too many unknowns in this world for us, so we must be careful in our actions. Got it. Teacher, you're really talkative. Seemingly tired of listening to the chatter of the falling rain, Nelu pushed it into the crack with a single thrust. Really, I'm not a child anymore. I feel so uneasy using it. It's really annoying. Hee, Minister. Your smile doesn't seem to be annoying. Shut up now. Nilu coughed awkwardly and turned towards the classroom. Xian shook her head with a smile and followed Nilu inside. On the other end of the crack, the falling rain had returned to Charlie's office in Kivotos. Looking at the familiar environment, Luo Yu couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. He has been running around outside recently, and he is also a bit tired. However, there are still many important things to do now, and it is not time to rest. I think, first we need to go to the Federal Student Union to explain the world situation to Rinzhou. Then we need to go to the Millennium to seek Riju's help. Luo Yu sat at his desk, with a determined gleam in his eyes. He knew that although Thunderbolt Yayi's physical condition had temporarily stabilized, the challenges they faced were far from over. The task is heavy and the road is long. Let's go to the Federal Student Union first. No need, we have already arrived. At this moment, the deafening sound of propellers echoed outside, and the sudden movement startled Luo Yu. Turning around, he saw that the sky had been submerged by helicopters. The students who got off the helicopter quickly surrounded Xia Lai's office, and the leaders, including seven gods Rin, Rina, Anhua, Tong Tingzhu, and little bird Yuxinye, breathed a sigh of relief when they saw the rain falling safely. After Riju received Xiaoyu's communication, Qishanlin terminated the meeting and quickly organized everyone to rush towards Xiaolai. Teacher, it's great that you're okay. Qi Shenlin quickly walked forward and hugged him tightly, showing concern and relief in his eyes. Linjiang's speed is too fast. Uncle, I'm also very worried about the teacher. Qi Shenlin quickly scanned the falling rain and confirmed that he was not in any serious condition before turning his attention to the matter. We have received news from Yoxiang. How is the situation in that new world? How is the girl named Thunderbolt Yayi now? Luo Yu nodded to everyone and began to recount in detail their experiences in the shattered world, as well as some of the events that happened in the past of Thunderbolt Yayi. That's it. I came back this time to bring some supplies to Yayi and her family. At the same time, I want Riju to come with me. Regarding Yayi's father's situation, I need her help. Indeed. If it weren't for the help of my super genius, pure and sickly beauty girl, teacher, your plan wouldn't have been successful. Upon hearing Luo Yu mention her name, Riju also moved over in a wheelchair. I am also very interested in technology from another world. Don't worry, teacher, I will work hard. However, I need to prepare and don't have to wait too long. It will be ready soon. After receiving Riju's answer, Luo Yu breathed a sigh of relief. From beginning to end, this girl has never disappointed everyone. Teacher, do you still plan to return to that world? At that moment, Kanzaki Hina walked out, her eyes filled with worry as she looked at Luo Yu. Since that's the case, I also want to go with the teacher. My strength can help you. Upon hearing the girl in front of her say this, Luo Yu crouched down and gently caressed her head. Nina, the children of Gehenna still need you. The discipline committee also needs you to sit down. Don't worry, I will definitely protect myself. But on that day, Nai wanted to say something, but felt a gentle force emanating from Luo Yu's arm pulling her down into the man's arms. Rina, teacher, I'm glad you care about me so much. Be obedient, let's go on a date together when the teacher comes back. Pacify Hina well, and at this moment, Hina is also ready with what she needs. Teacher, I can set off any time from here. Okay, then I'll leave it to you. Lin Jiang, could you please help me handle Xia Lai's official affairs in the next few days? Xingye, can you please search for the traces of Shaji and her companions these days, and try to keep them at Abido's place as much as possible. I'm a bit uneasy about those girls. Upon hearing the words of the falling rain, the little bird wandered through the starry field and made a sleepy yawn. Don't worry, teacher. Uncle, I will take good care of them. You can handle things, I'm at ease. Zhu, let Xiaozi go to Abido's after returning. With her help, Shaji and the others can also accept Xingye's kindness faster. That's all for now. I'll take Riju to that world first. Don't worry about me, after all, Nilu is also there. After speaking, Luo Yu walked into the crack with Riju under the worried gaze of all the girls in the room. On a distant building, a mysterious girl wearing a deep black dress also had a crack behind her that was almost like falling rain. Teacher, I will never let you be hurt again. Absolutely not. Chapter 9. Nauseating Conspiracy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Is this the world you came into, teacher? How can we say it, it's too dilapidated, isn't it? Riju stood in the teaching building, looking incredulously at the ruins of the city before him. The once bustling and noisy atmosphere had quietly faded away. The dilapidated skyscraper stands like a giant on the barren land, with reinforced concrete bones exposed. The shattered glass curtain wall reflects the afterglow of the sunset, creating a poignant scene. On the street, abandoned vehicles were toppling in all directions, covered in thick dust and fallen leaves, as if telling stories of life that were suddenly interrupted. Rusty road signs and collapsed and half-destroyed billboards silently point to the disappearing commercial blocks and living communities. And there was that strange monster that roared everywhere. If it weren't for listening to Luo Yu say that this place was still a quiet and peaceful city a few days ago, Riju would have thought she had come to the edge of hell. As you can see, Riju, there may be a phenomenon similar to Kivotos happening in this world. Are you saying, color, According to Thunderbolt Yayi, after the voice in her heart that harbored malice towards the whole world took control of her body, the city became like this in an instant. Speaking of which, Luo Yu couldn't help but recall her own self in another world, in the Ark. To protect one's students and become a leader in color, a great teacher. If the world is also being eroded by something similar to color, then it is not surprising that this kind of destruction will occur. Staring at everything that was dilapidated, Luo Yu's heart was filled with complex emotions. Riju also remembered his experience in Kivotos, where the world invaded by colors was also devastated and devastated. And now, this unfamiliar world seems to be experiencing similar pain and struggle. It's a bit too early to say these things now, after all, this is just our guess. Let's go and talk to Nilu and her first. I have other things to ask you to do. Shaking his head, he drove out any unnecessary thoughts from his mind, and Luo Yu brought Riju to the classroom where Nilu and her companions were located. Master, welcome back, Qian said in a gentle voice as she looked at the falling rain entering the classroom. Nilu looked at Riju behind the falling rain. Riju, I didn't expect the teacher to bring you over. After all, I need Riju's help now. Luo Yu placed the supplies he brought on the ground and then pointed to the two girls lying on the table. The girl with purple hair is what I call the Thunderbolt Sprout Cloth, and next to her is her good friend, Miss Kiana Kaslana. She is also the person who asked me for help. Roar. You're really two lovely girls really, can't the beautiful girls in Kivotos satisfy you anymore? Old Master. Looking at the two beautiful girls lying on the table, Riju playfully blinked her eyes towards the falling rain. Don't talk nonsense, Riju. Now let's see if the equipment brought from Kivotos can still be used. Next, it's time for you to show off your skills. Really it will squeeze me, this super genius pure and sickly beautiful girl. Although she said so, Riju's body was very honest, constantly adjusting the buttons on the wheelchair. Soon, a holographic image appeared in the room. Let me see, it's still working properly and there hasn't been any malfunction yet. I've hacked into the largest signal tower in this area, but fortunately the signal is still working. Luo Yu doesn't know how to roast. Is this the Millennium technology? It's so terrible. Just use it, Riju. Check out the relevant information of Mi Society. Mi Society. Yes, the full name of Mi Society is Massive Electric. The former president was Lei Longma, who was dismissed from his position by the board of directors on suspicion of forging financial certificates. The current president's name is Cocolia. Speaking of which, Riju opened the information on Cocolia. It's really strange. The name of Cocolia seems to have suddenly appeared in Mi Society. After Thunderbolt Dragon Horse was forced to abdicate, the entire board of directors approved Cocolia's proposal to become the president. As soon as these words were spoken, Luo Yu also sensed a slight abnormality and vaguely felt that everything that had happened in this area was probably related to the woman of Cocolia. Riju, retrieve the information about Thunderbolt Yayi. I have a premonition that we may be getting closer to the truth. Riju nodded, and as her fingers danced on the holographic image, she retrieved the information of Thunderbolt Yayi. Lei Yayi is the biological daughter of the president of Mi Society. In 1999, her mother passed away due to cancer. In 2004, Lei Yayi was kidnapped by a terrorist group and was rescued. Due to psychological trauma, she went to a private institution of Mi Society for 3 years of rest. Wait, that's it. Riju, find out the information about Thunderbolt Longma and then look for this time. I want to know what happened to Thunderbolt Yayi in this so-called private institution. Riju also followed the instructions of Luo Yu and retrieved the information of Thunderbolt and Dragon Horse. However, as a few people looked around, they found that there was a pitiful lack of information about Thunderbolt and Dragon Horse during those years. Although I couldn't find the information for those years, I found something more interesting. Perhaps this is what Miss Thunderbolt Yayi needs. With that said, Riju called out the secret conversation records between Coelia and the board of directors of Mi Club from an inconspicuous corner of Mi Club. Although they cleared this record after the conversation, it was still restored by me. After carefully reading this record, Luo Yu's face turned completely black, just as Thunderbolt Yayi said, Thunderbolt Dragon Horse was framed by someone. And the person who falsely accused Thunderbolt Longma of borrowing financing to develop ultra-high-frequency electromagnetic fields and obtain about $3.4 billion is the current president of Mi, Cocolia, and other board members. Not only that, although I didn't find any clues about Thunderbolt Dragon Horse, I found some things about that period in this person named Cocolia. During the 3 years of Thunderbolt's rest, Cocolia seemed to have made some kind of deal with Thunderbolt's motor and performed a secret surgery on Thunderbolt. All that can be found now is these. The world seems to be hiding something. On the internet, what happens in this city is also attributed to natural disasters. Upon hearing this, Luo Yu took a deep breath. The truth hidden in this world seems to be even larger than he imagined. Chapter 10. Heart-to-heart communication. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I can only investigate these for now. If I can reach the headquarters of Mi Society, perhaps I can find more information. Luo Yu nodded. These materials are already sufficient for now. A clever woman cannot cook without rice. Riju has just arrived here and is satisfied with investigating these. Since you already know what you want to know, the one pretending to sleep on the side should wake up now. Nelu, who had been silent all along, took out her weapon and aimed at Yayi lying on the table after studying the falling rain. Her fingers had already pulled the trigger. I had been skeptical for a long time, but now that I heard what Riju had dug up, I am even more certain about something. Yayi, you should know what's inside your body. I am not a bad person like the teacher. I will eliminate anything that may harm the teacher, including you. Luo Yu was somewhat surprised by Nilu's sudden difficulty, while Riju showed a smile that everything was under her control. Now, it's time to give us an explanation. Yayi saw that her act of pretending to sleep had been exposed, so she decided not to pretend. When she saw Nilu's dark muzzle, there was no trace of fear on her face. She sat up, her eyes calm and resolute, as if she had already anticipated the arrival of this moment. Yayi, what's going on? Why is the room so noisy? At this moment, Kiana, who had been sleeping all along, was awakened by the conversation of a few people in the classroom, her dazed and adorable appearance. When she saw Nelu pointing a gun at Yayi, her originally confused head suddenly woke up and blocked in front of Yayi. What are you going to do to Yayi? Kiana, it's okay. Yayi pulled Kiana back and looked at Luo Yu with apologetic eyes. I didn't deliberately conceal anything, and I have only a partial understanding of the power within me. I know this may cause misunderstandings and panic among everyone, but I assure you that I have never considered using this power to do anything that harms others, especially my friend. After listening to Luo Yu, a hint of understanding flashed in his eyes. He looked at Nilu and gestured for her to put down the gun. Nilu naturally understood the look in Luo Yu's eyes and reluctantly cut before putting away the light machine gun in her hand. But her eyes remained vigilant as she looked at Yayi. Nilu, it's okay, I believe in Yayi. Luo Yu walked up to Nilu and reached out to touch her hair. Just like Alice, don't you trust her equally? Ah. I don't care anymore. If you get hurt in the future, I won't care about you anymore, humph. Shaking Rain's hand away, Nilu walked out of here in a fit of anger. Xian smiled at Luo Yu and turned to search for her little minister. Hee, teacher, you are really guilty, even though I don't have the right to say such things. Bai Riju, who was not angry, glanced at Luo Yu and turned to continue looking at Yayi. Nilu doesn't have any ill intentions, it's just that I'm not very competent as a teacher and often makes them worry. Yayi, as you have heard, everything you are currently suffering is not your fault. You don't have to blame yourself for the disasters that have occurred in this city. My student's situation is very similar to yours. She was also out of her control and hurt the friend she cared about. Afterwards, she even wanted to sacrifice herself to protect everything she cared about. But fortunately, we rescued her and you were the same, Yayi. Speaking of which, Luo Yu looked at Qiyana behind Yayi. You also have people you care about, and they also care about you, that's enough. Since you're worried that your power may harm them, why not try to control it? Looking down at Yayi, who was pondering, Falling Rain signaled to Riju to retrieve the conversation record of Kokolia framing Thunder Dragon Horse. Sometimes avoiding is not the only way to solve a problem. Facing it calmly may be what you need now. Mr. Thunderbolt Longma also hopes to see you like that, doesn't he? Upon hearing the 4 words, thunder, lightning, dragon, and horse, Yayi's eyes fixed on the conversation record and gradually lost consciousness, even tears streaming out of her eyes. Seeing the situation, the falling rain only gently helped her wipe away her tears. Feeling the warmth emanating from his face, Yayi, with tearful eyes, looked at the falling rain in front of him, feeling as unreal as a dreamy bubble. Yayi was afraid that it was a dream, and when she woke up, she was the only one left by her side. Riju couldn't help but sigh as she looked at the situation. Not for the sake of sprouts, but for the sake of falling rain. The look in Yayi's eyes was so familiar to her fellow woman teacher, can't you just be a little more restrained, don't take my Yayi. Kiana, standing behind Yayi, looked at her and felt a sense of crisis in her heart. Yayi is mine. With just one tug, Yayi was pulled back, and Kiana looked at Luo Yu with an angry expression on her face. The speed was so fast that Luo Yu couldn't react in time, and her hand was still holding the position of wiping Yayi's tears. Kiana's sudden action instantly amused Luo Yu. He gently lowered his hand and looked at Kiana with a gentle and understanding expression in his eyes. Kiana, you misunderstood. I didn't mean to steal Yayi, I just hope she can bravely face herself, face her own power, and no longer bear the pain alone. Yayi, your power is not evil, it just requires proper guidance and control. And we, including Kiana, will be by your side, facing all of this together. The words of falling rain rained like warm sunshine on Yayi's heart, gradually easing her previously tense emotions. After all, educating students who are lost is also a responsibility that adults should fulfill. Kiana saw that Luo Yu had a good attitude. Although she still looked alert, she breathed a sigh of relief and turned to Yayi with an encouraging smile. Yayi, let's work hard together. No matter what happens, I will stand by your side. However, Yayi seemed to have not heard Kiana's words. She stared blankly at Luo Yu, and her murmuring words instantly petrified Qiyana in place. Students. How great it would be if I could have met you earlier.